Welcome to the True Story London podcast. I'm Michelle Toth. In this podcast, we listen to a true personal story told live at one of our shows in London, followed by a conversation with the storyteller about their background, process, story themes, and more. Today's storyteller is Osman S, telling a story about power, control, and redemption in the London comedy scene from the perspective of a young comic. Then he's in conversation with me, an old interviewer. Let's take a listen to his story recorded live at 21 Soho.
I'm Osman. I'm 19. So yeah, I was surprised too to figure that out. I woke up on my birthday and I was like, I feel like I'm going longer at this than I have. I was actually created in the lab. Scientists want to make the world's first 30-year-old teenager, so they made me. I'm on SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So if you don't know what that means, congrats on being happy. I've been doing comedy about a year now, almost to 2 days ago to a year. So around 6 months into my career, I met this promoter. I did his gig 2 weeks in a row. And back then I used to open my set like this. I used to, give me a cheer if you're in a relationship. Give me a cheer if you're single. All right, give me a cheer if you have clinical depression. All right. Thank you for cheering. There's sometimes people don't cheer, not even for fun. You know what I mean? So I talk openly about mental health and depression and these kinds of things. So I did this guy's gig 2 weeks in a row. And the morning after the second gig, I wake up and I log on to Facebook and I see this guy drop the post and the title of the post is rules for new comedians. And the very first rule was don't tell people you have depression and don't tell people to cheer. And first off, that's 2 rules, right? That was my first thought. I figured like, this is about me. I DM'd him and he immediately tried to save face. And he was like, you should talk about your background and, talking about mental health cuts people off and it just doesn't sound good coming from you. That the headliner that night was another South Asian comedian. He's a good friend of mine, but his and my styles are diametrically opposed. He loves to talk about his family. He does a hilarious impression of his relatives, and that's just not me. He says I need to be more relatable. That talking about mental health, it cuts people off and it sections off my comedy to people. It didn't make me feel good. It made me feel like shit, in fact. A lot of my comedian peers at the time follow this guy. This guy's kind of respected in that sense. That weekend, I was admitted to a mental health ward because I was a liability for my health. And slept in 26 days, 26 hours. That'd be fucking crazy, wouldn't it? Holy shit. This guy's been awake for 26 days. No. I hadn't taken my meds for 4 days. I was kind of out of it. I was brought in at 8 a.m. I was given a room with a bed and a chair, and it felt like kind of my dorm room, but there was a window there for doctors to kind of look into. I woke up, took my meds, and I felt like, a lot of the fog had cleared off my eyes. I was brought into the common room and all the other patients, and we started to eat. And I felt like I would almost feel at peace, but something was still bugging me. I looked around and I realized that every patient in this room was brown or black. It felt like a family reunion. I was like, holy shit, did my mom send me gifts and shit? No. There were these 2 people. There was this older Bangladeshi man, and then there was this younger gay black kid. And they got into an argument about who wanted to sit where, and it quickly kind of got personal. The older guy goes, I don't know why you act like this. You're being gay makes you less than. And the younger guy said, I'm not hurting anyone by being myself. The older guy says, no one outside here wants you to act like this. The young guy says, nobody outside wants any of us to be anywhere. He says, you're bringing us all down with you. This won't give you attention. So the kid goes, they don't care about what I am. They care about what they can take from me. I realized the pressure that this guy was putting on this kid just by the happenstance that he was born before him. And I kind of put two and two together, and I figured the promoter held the same power over me, except I didn't realize that I could say, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? You know, I live in London, and I travel around a lot for stand-up, and I forget that, you know, London, you know, racism isn't just like hurling slurs and blocking funding to communities and this and that. It's subtle. It's 24/7. And, you know, as much as I can downplay the promoter's influence, there's a lot of people that are new to the comedy game, and they don't realize that, you know, there could have been another young comic in my situation who would have just rolled over and missed out on all the opportunities that truly expressing yourself through jokes can bring. I'd rather have people laugh with me than at me. You know what I mean? That's why 10 days ago, I launched my very own comedy night. It's called the Student Kitchen Comedy Club. You know, it's for young comics. We get a good tape for them. We get good pictures. They can do whatever they want. Well, maybe not whatever. These have to be funny, but they can do whatever they want without old, snide, resentful old cunts pigeonholing them. And that's the story about how I got admitted to a mental health ward and how it made me a better comedian. Thank you very much. Good night.
Osman, welcome to the True Story podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. I'm very happy to listen to the tape again. I haven't heard it since I did it. So
how does it sound hearing it back?
I mean, I remember the structure of it because we put a lot of work into like building the story. So like it's I've said it to other people, just haven't like recorded it. So I haven't had the chance to like listen to it or anything.
Well, that is something that occurred to me. I wanted to know your take on thinking about the process of taking the experiences you had, which stretched over a period of time, and turning them into a short true story.
Right.
What do you think you took away from that process, if anything?
When you like asked for me to pitch the entire story for the first time, it was like very kind of all over the place, kind of by extension of it being so close to the actual time that it happened. I still probably like hadn't thought about like every angle or like every way that I felt. It's a good thing because we would have been recording for like 15 minutes if I just like went on a rant. I think just like pulling in like the core themes of things that people like really want to hear about, like the control theme and about like supposed power. Whereas like the promoter in the story, he's like a supposed power over other comedians, and I think by extension people think like, oh, this guy's confident in what he says, so he must know something, which you quickly realize is not the case in comedy.
What is the scene in London right now for a young comedian? What's it like?
I'll split it into like two kind of groups where there's young people doing comedy. There's like people in uni or in like college or whatever, and then there's people not, or like working and that kind of thing. And generally the people in uni don't get as much time on the circuit because they have less time. They're like either at uni or at lectures or that kind of thing.
Studying, doing that uni kind of thing.
I should say I am also in uni, but I don't
studying
take it
hard.
I don't take it as seriously as I think I should. But like there's comedians that work as well. Those are the comedians that I think I would consider in my like class or graduating class. They kind of started around the same time. All of us kind of like got better at the same time as well. Now it's kind of like a weird in-between period where some people are doing straight to TV stuff and some people are doing their own little gigs like outside of London, but they're like huge in the area that they do them in. So
that seems fast.
Yeah, it is. It's strange.
That's pretty exciting.
Well, people have like mentioned straight out of the pandemic, I think so many people were cooped up and wanted to say something that it was just like this influx of like comedians that were great, but like had needed to refine a lot of stuff.
I have to agree. When I first started watching comedy after the pandemic, I was like, wow, these people have been away from the stage for a while. It was really rough.
Yeah.
But my heart went out to them, but I was like, get them some
yeah.
stage time. As an American coming to London from New York City, my impression is that London is more hospitable to comics, that there's more of a scene here.
Yeah.
Is that true, do you think? Do you know any people that could contrast those two?
I think I would say so. I guess in New York, you have to get to a certain level of comedian where you can do kind of like 5 or 6 gigs a night, which a lot of comedians do because it's in like New York City. That it's such a dense area. Comedy clubs are not that far from each other.
London is 45 minutes,
exactly.
no matter where you want to go.
Everything is an hour away, which is very tough when you're trying to...
If there's no tube strike.
Exactly. I would say people have told me their experiences in New York with like open mic comedy. A lot of it is like, seems to be like you kind of have to bring like 5 people and then you can get on stage and get 5 minutes or whatever. And it's a bit rough. London, I feel like there's an infrastructure here with pubs where pubs need something to put on, so they invite like a really charismatic person to put on a comedy night, or comedians will approach pubs and be like, can I run something here? Which I guess makes it more accessible for people just starting out, and makes like the names of like comedy nights more faster to go around. Where like nights that started like 2-3 months ago are already kind of picking up pace.
Nice.
And like there's like a real like hunger for it here, I think, which is nice.
It's great. Something to accompany your beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So Osman, I have to tell you that your story for me as a coach and someone who helps people develop their stories is one of my favorite to reflect on. It's one of my favorite to tell.
Thank you.
Because among the things I loved about it was that yes, you were developing the story, but the story kind of developed itself, like told itself over the course of figuring out what you were going to share back in November.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this? Like,
I kind of do. We
had some long conversations.
Yeah, it was like the plot of us writing the story was being written by another like storyteller.
It's very AI.
It's very AI. We were ChatGPT before that happened.
It was very much a parallel process of like getting all that content out and figuring out how to shape it.
Yeah, and like I think if there's any part of like my life that's probably gonna, if it's like movie worthy, it's probably that part, because it's like a parallel where I thought about starting my night maybe like 2 months before that, but I never really put it into action or anything like that. And then once I started writing the story for True Story, it was like, I might as well. Like it's the opportunity was too like open for me to not do it. At that
we
point.
needed
a happy ending to the story. Otherwise, it's just been a really depressing story about me doing comedy.
I think it was more organic than that. Where you kind of, because I think when we started out, the story had a lot to do with that experience of being in the mental health ward.
Yeah.
That was big. And in the story you actually told on stage, obviously you told it really in a really tight way.
Yeah.
Noticing that scene between those two other men, noticing the environment, having some real insights there. And realizing the parallel between the dynamic of the older man and the younger guy and the promoter and you, like that insight that you had, I thought was pretty key.
Again, I don't think I would have found that parallel if it wasn't for like, it sounds like bad, but like you pushing me to like really think about the story and what ideas exist.
Why does that sound bad?
No, as in it's because I mean you've mentioned it before in like emails and stuff where it's like it is ironic that you're giving me like pointers or like tips or telling me like which ways to go, and the story is partially about like promoters telling comedians which jokes they can't do and this kind of thing.
Exactly. I tried to own that in our back and forth and be like, Osman, I know I'm the old person in this scenario and I'm giving you a lot of tips and advice here.
The thing I think I emailed back to you as well was like, I think especially with a story, I trust you more And like we're working together, so I'm not going to be like, I hate you, and I'm not going to do this gig anymore or whatever.
Do you remember by the end of it, you were like, I think I got what I needed out of this. I don't even have to do the show. I was like, Osman, you are doing the show.
No. I was still adamant to do the show, but I was like, oh, I feel so great. This is like breakthroughs that even therapy doesn't give you. You know what I mean? I was just there.
Oh, I know. I love that about storytelling. Like when you're telling your own story for an audience, it's kind of key. It's different from journaling, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to think about how the other person, the third person is going to experience it. I love that part of where the light bulbs go off.
Yeah. And like you said, like just thinking about it and bringing it all into like a streamlined 5-6 minute story. For better or for worse, you can kind of like put it in this box and be like, all right, this is my experience at that time. This is what I learned. And I'm not going to complicate things by thinking about like other stuff in that time period. This is just what I learned, and this is what I'm going to take from it.
So now you are in the promoter role. So the really natural question is, how is it going with the Student Kitchen Comedy Club?
It's going well. It's going well. We've just I think we've just finished our third show. So we did one in November. That was our opening night, and that was like overwhelmingly big success. Like a lot of our friends came out, and we were so happy to see them. And then January we were back. I guess it's a weird thing because the November one we had to sell on like, oh, it's our first show, so everybody come down, blah blah blah. The January one, it was a day before my birthday, so we were like, oh, come down for my birthday, and we kind of like. It's like a weird marketing trick too.
Oh, done that. That's how we started True Story. You will notice True Story's birthday is Michelle's birthday.
No, that was our like marketing pitch. Was like, we're just gonna sell this on my birthday.
Exactly. And people show up for people's birthdays. Yeah.
And then I think the latest one, March 3rd, it was the first one where we didn't have like a safety net of like we can sell it on something. And we were a bit scared, but it turned out pretty well as well. That was our best one so far, I think. I'm really like glad with the people that we've curated for the show. Like I kind of like took like some notes from like you guys, what you do at like True Story and 21 Soho and stuff like that, where they curate such like specific and interesting voices. A lot of comedians will like get on my back about like not booking them or not like whatever, because I see them a lot. But it's a lot of the time it's that thing of like if they have like something that I haven't seen anywhere else on the circuit, then I'm absolutely gonna get them on. And if it's not this show, then it'll be the next one, and it'll be like one after. We've been like chasing people since November to get them on, and we've just now got them on in March. So it's like that weird thing where we'll welcome whoever has like that hunger to be funny, but we look out more for like comedians that have like an interesting point of view on something or an interesting like story to tell, rather than just the first people that sign up to the forum.
That sounds amazing. I, of course, will never know because I'm not allowed to come. It's young people, comedy for young people, right?
By young people. Okay, so we made a big clerical error when writing that tagline, because it was the Eventbrite wanted something like short and like snappy or whatever, and we were like, it's fine, let's just do this young people thing or whatever. We initially did students, and then we were like, oh, that cuts off even more people because a lot of young people are not students.
I want nothing more than to support you, but I'm like, am I really not allowed to go?
No. So we made like this like a kind of parody video of like us in a room, and we were like, can old people come to the show? And
you defined old people as 27.
That's like the most like mind-boggling thing is like we tried to make it so clearly like satire, and we built it up being like, don't come to the show if you're old, we're gonna call the police on you, and we're gonna do all this stuff, and then people still were like DMing us being like, are you serious about that? Like, are we really gonna like?
This is a sign of people's age paranoia. Like, you really worry as you get older if you're like acting too young.
Right.
I've kind of gotten over that myself because I have so many young friends.
And no, exactly. I mean, that's the thing where we tell like comedians as well, when we put up like forms for the open spots in the middle of our show, it's pitched as like, we're looking for comedians that can play a young crowd. We've had people on that are like old, you know, like quote unquote.
I like your air quotes.
But like they play so well to a young crowd, and they don't care about like coming on and doing like a TikTok reference or whatever. The way I define it, it's like harder to tell comedians, but a lot of comics are old, but if they have that empathy in them to just like this is terrible. This is a terrible advertisement for our night. But come to our show. It's a welcoming environment. I mean, that's the thing. It would be like off brand for us if we turned away old people. You know what I mean? It would be like terrible for our marketing. And it just wouldn't fit like our whole vibe, you know what I mean?
It sounds like you have a really awesome vibe where you're like basically featuring young voices, but interesting, diverse voices with something to say.
Yeah.
And that you're open to a wide range of people being part of it.
Yeah.
But nice to have older people listening, like doing the listening to a lot of the comics, and then having the headliner or a slot for someone who maybe has more experience.
I mean,
but
that's the setup of the night, I think, is like having someone who is experienced but can play a young crowd really well, and then everything in between that is like kind of people who were basically me last year.
Osman, this sounds amazing what you're creating for people, and I'm wondering, being in this role, this promoter role, this nurturer of other talent, when you're still early in your own comedy career, what's the benefit of that for you? How has it affected you? Because we met several months ago.
Yeah.
We're talking now, and it's amazing to hear the way you're thinking about this.
Right. How
generous it sounds. Like, what a cool vibe.
I think being in the position now, and especially like telling the story, I think if I hadn't like reflected on the story in the way that I did in the recording, I don't know if I would have the same like outlook on my night as I do now. Well, I don't give people like unsolicited like advice, you know what I mean? I'm not like, your set was terrible, or like one joke didn't work. I'm like, you're gonna do great. Like, you have to give them like the confidence so they themselves believe that they can do well. It's that thing where people like DM us being like, oh, I don't know if I can do like a student night, and it's always the thing of like, don't look at it as a student night, just look at it as a night where a lot of young people are there, a lot of students are there, but they're just there to laugh. They're not there wanting people to acknowledge it is a student night. That's just the name of it. We got really lucky with the pub as well, because it's a student pub. It's opposite a business school, so it's like a lot of people's local pub, and they'll come in.
Tell us, what's it called?
The Castle in Whitechapel, and it's just that kind of thing where in the area, I think there's so many posters up that it's kind of built that reputation of like, oh, this is a thing that every month we can go and do. And I've seen people like looking at the poster like 10 seconds after I put it up, and then them like taking a picture and that kind of thing, which is like exciting to just see. It's like a direct translation of your hard work into tangible success, you know what I mean? By them even just not even coming to the show, but just by taking a photo and like sending it to their friends. That's like what I deem as like, okay, this is on a good track. This is like gonna be hopefully a successful night.
So Osman, what's next for you?
Well, we made it a goal to do, I think, 12 shows this year under Student Kitchen. So we might, whether or not it is like a monthly thing, we'll try and like fit at least 12 inside the year. We might bring it to like a mini festival or something, and also like by extension build the brand of the show in like different parts, because right now it is very concentrated to London, and I like that because London, it's like a moving city, everybody's always on the move, and it's like a very happening thing. But I think getting the name out there and getting like people to recognize it and recognize like the look of the show and what it is.
It is so fun to hear you talk about the way you're thinking about your show and how supportive it is. And I can imagine people love being a part of it and love listening.
Yeah, I mean, all comedians will know this. Like at some point your friends are tired of listening to you do the same bit. So like actually working hard and getting out there and flyering and it also like me and Bella being out there by ourselves kind of helps a lot, because it's we're running the show. People take flyers from us. They'll see us at the show. It's not like we're not like being paid by people to flyer and that kind of thing.
This is something we learned, and we were always prioritizing with True Story, was how do we think less about audience, more about community?
Right.
So that people felt like this is for them and would love to see them again and again and again. It's a little different with comics who themselves have a hard time because they're off gigging, right?
Right.
That's a little different from what we find with our storytellers who most of them can come back and be at a show, be at all of our shows.
Right.
But that's why you need the non-comic old people to come to your shows.
So this is a call out for everybody.
Everyone's young at heart.
This is, again, we're going to have to do more videos on it, but like we got to show that ourselves, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. You want to show the open inclusiveness that you sought by creating the show in the first place. Osman, it is so great to see you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Really, really nice to hear what you've been up to, how well things are going, and just wish you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. For more information about today's story and conversation, see the show notes at truestorylondon.com. And if you like what we're doing and want to sponsor us, you can do that on our website too. The True Story London podcast is hosted by me, Michelle Toth. Our producer is Ellis Ballard. Our theme music is by Sea Noise. Live recordings were provided by Laughing Around and recorded at 21 Soho. And just one more thing. Please subscribe and rate us at your favorite podcast platform. It really does help, especially since we're a new podcast. Thanks, and we'll see you for another episode soon.